Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and every week we bring you the stories of people who are improving the world around them locally, globally, and digitally. That's part of how we see the world as an online and asynchronous service club. You might be thinking to yourself, what is this service thing? It is the joy and meaning that come from helping others. And there are 1.2 million people in Rotary doing this in 36,000 clubs around the world. 1/36,000th of these clubs would be us, the Rotary E Club of Silicon Valley, and you can learn more about our club by going to rotary.cool. We're rather proud of that. One of the other things we're really proud of is that we get so many fascinating stories, and I know we've got a good one tonight. I am going to hand it over to past President Nick Lagarde to tell the story of Elodie and introduce her so she can tell us the really cool story of the work that Boundless Life does. Nick, I hand it to you.
Yes, and I'm thrilled to be here today to introduce Elodie and excited to hear the story of Boundless because for me, education is a worldwide activity, something that my wife and I, another Rotarian of this club, are really proud to bring our children along in that journey. When I heard what Boundless Life was doing, I really wanted to hear more. And I also thought that with the focus on education we have, there was something that I think our club really opportunity to give voice to. So while you can scroll up or scroll down, depending on podcast or YouTube or our meeting page to learn more about Elodie and Boundless, I just want to say welcome, Elodie, and look forward to hearing all about it. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Nick and Rushton. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. It's been an exciting time for us with Boundless Life. We've been um, we've been creating this beautiful journey for the past 3 years with really the intention to change the way families are living and experiencing the world and connecting with their families. So I'm one of the co-founders. Really excited about this journey and share a little bit more about it today with you. Um, so at the core of it, and we'll talk a lot about reinventing life for families. I think a lot of our families are millennials, and we know that millennials are different, right? We're connecting differently. We have so many new tools now to entertain ourselves also differently. We're traveling also differently. A lot of new solutions have been made available, and the world has been changing around them. We've actually been the actors in the changing elements of this world. But things haven't changed so much for families in the way we're living and in the way we're raising our children. And this is something that we realized with Mauro and Reka, my co-founders, about 4 years ago. That was right after COVID. I bet that you receive a lot of people were like, right after COVID, a lot of things changed. And for us, it was the same. It was this realization that the world had changed, but that our children were, being educated in very similar ways than we were. And also that we were living in very similar ways. And we wanted more. We wanted more than that. We thought, why do actually we expect people to raise their kids like their parents, like other generations? Things have been changing a lot around us in terms of macroeconomics and big trends, and it was time to change. We also knew that parents and families in general were looking to enjoy life differently with their children. There was this very strong intention, and intention is a big word. I think our generation has like a lot of intentionality in how we drive our lives. So there was this intention to spend more time together, more quality time together. There was also this intention to raise the kids in a way that would be useful for them in the future. There are many unknowns, right, about what kind of world our children are going to evolve and grow into. So what kind of skills would those kids need? And we deeply believe that learning from the real world and from traveling would be critical for the children. We also had this desire from the parents to continue growing, to continue learning. So the children are learning, but the parents also want to keep on growing. And another big red thread that we kept hearing in our community was the importance of community everywhere you go. Like I'm worried to go around and lose the community. And that's something that was really, really important for the families. And so when one of the catalysts, I think of those changes and what makes this not a crazy dream, but actually something possible, is that work has changed a lot, right? It was already starting to change pre-COVID, and the acceleration happened in terms of remote work during and after COVID. And I mean, there are a lot of conversations about like who will remain or not remote, but still, like everyone kind of agrees that you have about 30% of people who will remain remote. And that's really the future. That's been a catalyst for us at Boundless Life to enable families to actually live and travel differently and raise their kids differently. Now, the issue that we were facing back then, before we launched Boundless, is that families could work remotely, but they could not work from anywhere. For three main reasons. The first one was education. Education is still quite rigid, right? You have to sign up for the school for the whole year. You have to stay in one location. And also generally there is this one size fits all when it comes to the children. But also it's hard when you're traveling around with the family and you don't have the support network. I'm a mom of four kids. There is a lot to do, right? So you need that community around you, those service providers to help you to manage the work and the family life. And then there was also like this challenge with for families who are staying in one place, saying, okay, I will do this later on when the kids will be older. But the reality is, and I think many families are realizing this now, it's now. Like I want to experience this now because when I'm retired, I don't know if my children will want to spend time with me. I don't even know if I'll be there. And there is this really strong calling for enjoying life now. And so that's what we're creating with Boundless Life is enabling families to travel and through travel experience a very fulfilling life. Working largely on answering two main problems. The first one is the education, and the second one is the community. And when it comes to education, there's been a lot of discussion around what we wanted to create with Boundless. And what has been really important for us is developing an education system that is future ready. As I was mentioning, there are a lot of unknown about what kind of skills our kids will need or what kind of work our kids will do in the future. However, there is quite some clarity on the kind of skills that they will need, especially in a world that is, like developing with major trends like AI development. So that's something that we're really embedding into the education program, as well as really focusing on what we call place-based learning. We're going into incredible locations. The world has lots to offer, and there is no better way for the children to learn than to learn outside of the classroom and to learn in the places where actually things happened. So if you want to learn about mythology, come to Greece with us. Like that's where the kids will really be immersed. Like the beauty of place-based learning is really for the kids to be immersed in the learning experience and therefore to retain better, but also ask questions and keep that curiosity that is intrinsically a quality of children very, very much alive, that love for learning. And then the second key element is community. We know that for families, whether you're at home or traveling, like being part of a community is critical. So we're really designing something where you're meeting other like-minded parents. Those parents share a lot of experiences together, and that's kind of your support network. That's the people you go to when you want to celebrate happy moments. but also when you're in need of help, because with life there are up and downs, and you need that support like every day, whether you're at home or around the world. So the dream that started like again 4 years ago, now in like we launched February 2022. So it's been 3 years and a half. And it's incredible, like the level of engagement that we've seen and interest. It's really what I call a movement. Families realizing that this is possible and wanting to join. We have now more than 1,400 families, and they come from all over the world. So that's really an incredible community of people who meet on cohort and then keep in touch after that as well, and come back and travel the year after again together. It's currently 7 locations, but we're announcing number 8 in a few days. And it's families who really love it. The recommending Boundless. So the Net Promoter Score is obviously something that we closely track. We build that community with our families, and we're very excited to see them very engaged. They always have a lot of ideas on how to improve the experience for themselves and for their children. And there is no better reward for us also than to see some of the big industry bodies recognizing also Boundless. So we just got the 2030 Visionary Award in the category Family Travel. So that's been incredible for us to get that stamp as well, just recognizing all the efforts that have been made to create a different lifestyle. So how does Boundless work? I thought it would be interesting also to explain a little bit, because it's quite an unusual thing to help families to live a different life. The idea is quite simple. The execution is a lot more complex. But basically the idea is for us to take care of all the logistics around living abroad, so families can focus on the experience. I talk about living abroad because that's really what families do. Like, it's less about the travel experience and more about the immersion. This is where really the juice comes in for the kids and for the parents, feeling immersed in the local culture, really being part of the Boundless community, but also the local communities and engaging with them. Yeah, it's really about living in the location. Between 4 weeks and 3 months, you can decide how long you stay. There is a lot of flexibility because at the end of the day, like I was talking at the very beginning of the presentation about millennials wanting that freedom. We really want the flexibility and the option to design the life you want for every family. So there is an education program for the kids 1.5 to 15 now. And that education program is, we have basically education centers in all locations. They look exactly the same. They function the same. They have the same curriculum. So it's very consistent and smooth for the children to move from one location to another. Then we have the community. So about between 25 and 40 families, depending on the size of the cohort, in one location, who live together. They start at the same time, they end at the same time, they really connect. This is from Greece. It's an incredible event that is organized over there. You can just see like people are in the moment and they are sharing very special and creating very special memories together. And then living and working. So more of the basics, but that's really what enables you then to enjoy the community and have more time with your children. So we help you with homes and with co-working space. Everything is within walking distance. And this is really important for us because we really value as a key notion well-being. And so encouraging families and children to walk to school is really important. It's part of a lifestyle we want to encourage. And I will close with just sharing. I think that's always good to know also where we're currently located. So we have 7 locations, as I was mentioning. We started in Sintra, then Greece, Italy, Montenegro, Bali, Spain, and Uruguay. And just for you guys, again, this hasn't been launched externally, but for the Rotarian community, this will be our next location, Japan, where I'm currently located, where we'll be launching with a few families already in 3 months. So really, really excited to get into more places. That's yeah, what I wanted to share in terms of the future of living and the future of raising our children. I think if there are any questions, maybe I'll pose here.
There are going to be questions. There are so many cool things that are part of this story. There's a certain amount of where do we start, but I do know that we're going to start with the introductions because that's what we do at that transitional point each recording. You've met Nick in Vancouver. My name is Rushton. I'm in San Jose. Joining us also is Scola, who is based in the East Bay, but up in San Francisco. Scola, good to see you. And Elodie, where are you from originally? You're in Japan, but you are originally from.
Uh, this is a question that none of my children will be able to answer. But I can answer it still. I'm originally from France. I haven't lived there for 15 years, but I'm originally from France and currently located in Japan.
Well, fantastic. So one of the things about this whole program is that you are hitting some things that ordinarily people see as being mutually exclusive. You can travel, but you don't get the community. You can stay with the community, but you can only travel during that 1 week or whatever, right? And by having such a large group, I mean, like you mentioned, like 1,400 families that that allows both to have that's amazing. I'm curious how big the cohorts are in these different places. So, there's always kind of that thing of like, okay, I have a community, but if it's a really small community, boy, do I hope I like these people, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
so talk a little bit about the size of the groups in different places.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so generally speaking, the cohorts will be between 25 and 40 families coming together in one place for either 4 weeks or 3 months. Um, what you will see is that once you've been part of Boundless, you'll most likely meet some families you've met before in another location. This is like one of those magic moments, you get to the ferry in Siros and you have like 2, 3 families who are waiting for you and the kids are rushing down and they're meeting their friends. Now, when you join Boundless for the first time, obviously you won't know anyone. And yeah, there is a lot of, I think many people share the same concern or worry, like, what if I don't like any of those people? Now, I think the kind of families we're attracting have very similar values. They're coming from very different countries and background. However, they're all really driven by the same intention and vision for raising their children. They're also generally like, quite adventurous. Like they're taking a big leap of faith, and this kind of energy and hunger for discovery and adventure is very contagious when you're on a cohort. So there is just naturally a lot of topics that families have in common, want to share, want to discuss. So the playground is not a boring place you go to for your children only. Like the playground really becomes a very interesting area where parents are also discussing really cool topics.
Well, you focus pretty heavily on the family, and I know Nick has several questions about what it means to be a family in this community and in this setting. I'll hand it over to him for some of those questions.
I agree with you, Elodie, that I think your experience is universal, that the person who's signing up for Boundless is probably already in a mindset. I was curious about the length of time that people are committing and how it ties into the inevitability of like when they return. Are your people that are joining you on a journey where they are permanently traveling, or do you get people
Mm.
who are um, returning home to a more settled situation? What do you see typically?
This is a great question. We have both. So we have families who are permanently traveling or they're on sabbatical. a gap year, and they're doing like 9 months around the world with their kids. And then we also have families who come to Boundless once a year, and it's kind of like their time to also recharge and think outside of the box and get the kids outside of their comfort zone. So you will have like the spring family, and they come like every spring. And I love it. It's like groups of families who then travel together, and they're like they did Tuscany the first year, and then I think that group did Syros, and now they were in Estepona, and they're planning where they're gonna meet the year after. So you can see those kind of recurring patterns. What makes us really excited is that we see more and more families who did 3 months, and now they're like, okay, Elodie, we're now ready for the 9 month next year, and they're planning for like a bigger adventure. So it does take like it does take planning. It does take a lot of courage as well to make it happen, but we definitely see this momentum picking up.
Wonderful. And kind of tied to that, because I think a lot of people understand the nature of remote work and time zones of being a challenge, but that the fact that you can
Mm.
do it. And for the kids, how do they tie it into the bigger picture of school, um, specifically in terms of keeping with other curriculum and other things that keep them tied to whatever's next, especially if they don't just stay with Boundless?
Yes. So generally speaking, I mean, so Boundless our philosophy is all inspired and the curriculum by the Finnish curriculum. So this has been recognized as one of the most progressive and effective curriculum for children around the world. And that's the reason why we chose it. So that means that we're unable, obviously, to match every single curriculum around the world, for sure. However, what we've seen for those families who basically do Boundless for 3 months is that the children obviously keep on learning, like we have mastery and we have place-based learning. There might be that some areas, a very specific topic, I don't know, about matrix is not exactly covered. So there will be some filling the gap that is needed on very specific area. However, generally speaking, what the kids are learning in terms of, well, mastery, but also the additional soft skills that comes along with travel is so extremely beneficial that it's definitely worth for the parents to basically bring them on to the adventure for that time of their lives. That's how we've seen like a lot of families approaching also the journey.
I'd like to ask a little bit about how this works in terms of costs. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems like there's a clever advantage for the families in that you are charging them for school, but you're also setting up their living arrangements so they can really think about a comparison in terms of both tuition and cost of living. Do I have that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. So you will be paying for the home, for the tuition, and for the access to the community. That's how Boundless works.
Okay.
Um, so what a lot of families will do is that they will be renting their house back home, and then they will be instead joining Boundless during 3 months or 9 months of the year. We can see that there is then the pricing will depend depending on the seasonality. So we obviously you're traveling during the summer, the cost will be higher. You're traveling during the winter, cost will be lower. And generally speaking, I think what the families enjoy is also the life on location is like more affordable and more beneficial for them than back home. And that's always kind of a happy surprise when they come on location, to see that they're able to just enjoy more in the boundless locations than back home.
Well, fantastic. On the site, it talks about these costs being monthly costs. So a certain number of
Mm-hmm.
euros per month that it changes by location. Are there other factors that you mentioned the time of year, but is there a different tuition for, say, high schoolers than there are for elementary schoolers?
So the tuition is slightly higher for the kids who are 12 to 15, so the middle school. Then 1 to 12, there is no differences. The only parameters that would change would be the home type, depending on the type of home you're choosing, whether it's a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, or a 3 bedroom, then the cost will be different. So we have we have about 20 to 25 homes in every location, so you're able to select which home you want to stay in. And that will be the determining factor along indeed with the time of the year you're traveling.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, I am wondering, because you're pulling so many interesting pieces together for this story. The the line that caught my eye was, "Why do we expect that they will raise their kids like their parents?"
Like their
Right?
parents.
And that to me really speaks to trying to get people to think differently about school, which is hard because school is one of those things where everybody has expertise because they've been in school. And so, you talk to educators, you talk to school leaders, and, they find that people are asking all of these different questions. How hard is it to get people into a different frame of mind about how school can be?
Mm, great question. I think one of the benefits of COVID has been for parents to actually realize a little bit more what was happening at school because we had to do some form of homeschooling. At least I know I did. I was in London working and 3 kids, and I was doing all the schooling, and I could see so much more what was actually happening. And so there was this big wake up, and we hear that a lot from the families about like, are they still learning exactly the same thing as I was? Like everyone I would, if you haven't, please watch the video of Ken Robinson. I think it's one of the classics, right? Talking about workers to thinkers and how the education system was developed to raise workers. We want now to raise thinkers who are asking the right questions and not answering questions in the right way. And that's really what a lot of our families, I think, are looking for. Um, and this wake up is like, I think is happening generally. Also because we start seeing the world changing around us, right? When you see like all the developments in terms of AI and everything that can be done now, of course you wonder, like, what is the future for my children? What are they going to do? What is going to be their job? How can I help them to have a fulfilling life in this world that I can't even comprehend? And so there are so many unknowns, I think, that parents are waking up to. It can be very, very scary. On the other side, what we're trying to do with Boundless is to say, well, it's changing. It's changing fast. And it's proven that some of the key skills that kids will need more and more in the future are related to problem solving, empathy, collaboration, creativity. And it's not about just like absorbing knowledge and like regurgitating knowledge. It's really about asking yourselves the right question, having a critical mindset. And that's how we're trying to raise the children in our education center. I think the parents are waking up to that, and they are asking a lot of questions. And even in our education centers, they're also challenging us on our methodology, and that's great. Like that's how we want it to be. We want it to be an animal that is evolving. It's not static.
So I love that. And I think it also leads into a question that Scola had. And so she asks about, you have these families that are homeschooling. How young can the kids be in the system that Boundless has created and have it work within the larger system that you've designed?
So we bring in kids from 1 year and a half. So that's how little. We have multi-age learning approach. So the early years are very much Montessori like. So the 1.5 to 3 years old, and then the 4 to 5 year old. So I'm waiting for my youngest one to be 1.5 to be able to bring him into the program. Just have a few months to go. But yeah, the 1.5 to 3 is just such an adorable group. We generally have a maximum of 12 kids in there. So it's there are micro schools, very caring, very warm environment for the little ones and for the big ones as well.
So I'll ask one more question and then we'll wind things down. I'll note to everyone who is watching or listening to this program that we'll get to keep asking these questions of this wonderfully interesting program. It's part of the perk of being in the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley and taking part in our recordings. So, Elodie, as you think about the work that you have done with this, and it's not just as a business person, as an educator, but also as a mom. What has surprised you the most in terms of how families or students have reacted to this opportunity that Boundless has created?
Mm. Um, I think what's been really interesting to observe, and I often tell families before they jump on the ship, is generally speaking, parents are always very worried about their children. How are my children gonna go through this? So many changes, new culture, new house, new friends, how they're gonna do it? And I always tell them like the children are the most flexible and agile and curious human beings that you will ever meet, right? And actually, as a parent, what will surprise you is that you most likely will struggle the most through that adventure. And you will also need to embrace that growth mindset because things aren't going to be perfect. Things are going to be challenging. And and for you, most likely, it will be harder. And you will grow as much, if not even more, than your children along this adventure. But I think parents are just so, and that's a beautiful quality, right? They're always so interested in their children's well-being that's their main concern. But again, like my personal experience and having met multiple families on cohort is the adventure is as much for the kids as it is for the parents and for the family as a whole, learning to live differently together again, more connected, spending more time together, with a lot more intentionality and with fewer things, more moments, and less stuff, less materialistic lifestyle, which I think everyone is just thriving, yeah, thriving in. So that's been my observation, experiencing the boundless life.
Well, it sounds like these families are having a shared set of experiences that will be reference points for the rest of their lives, which is
I
really
hope so.
beautiful. Yeah. So let me wind things down, and then I'll hand it back to you for the final word. Thank you, everyone who has chimed in, who's tuned in to watch this video, listen to this podcast, be challenged by the ideas that are out there for making the world more interesting and giving us opportunities to connect with others in ways that allow us to be more empathetic to the possibilities and needs of all of those around us. We believe that sharing the stories as we do in the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley is part of the service that we do. We hope that you'll take a good look through our meetings archive at rotary.cool. You'll you'll see at the top of the page meetings, and you can see the diversity of stories that we share and the hopefully endless space for being fascinated by the kinds of things that we focus on. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. Elodie, what would you like people to have clearly in mind as they finish the video or podcast?
I want everyone to feel excited and comfortable with the idea that like traveling as a family is possible and traveling as a family will raise next generation of impactful but also driven global citizens. And I think that's something that the world needs nowadays more than ever. So I encourage everyone to be brave, be resilient. That's how we teach what we teach our kids at the education center, and take that leap of faith and just go for it. Try it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elodie. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next week.